This is today is November 9th, and this is board workshop regarding our bond proposal. So we're going to start it off, you want to start it off with Title 11? Just point it to the top, just point. Everybody want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, start it off with Title.
All right, let's fast forward up here to 12. All right, site works before, security booth, planter bollards, replace playgrounds with.
Hey, hold on a second. Is this what we're doing, going over this again, or are we just gonna, we just ask questions?
No, so
Let's just ask.
Tim, I'm asking the board president, please.
I don't know, I don't think we have to go back over it. I think if we have, anyone has any good questions about Tuttle Avenue, or things that are they're concerned that they would like to see or clarify.
No, I'm concerned with the clarification of planter bollards. For me, I don't know much about it. What are these, just big, are these literally big planters that are filled with?
Yes, if you've been to,
Is there-
Target's sake, the ones, you know the big walls in front of Target? They're similar to that, it's exactly it. They're similar to something like that. They're to stop the ability of a car to be used as a weapon to get into the car.
It's not a question.
No, it's not.
Because
I don't know, he explained it at the,
I actually want to follow up with that, because I would think architecturally, there might be some sections you don't want to plant or anything, that might have a bollard in it.
a real bottle, like
Are these, there's gonna be plants and stuff in these?
It depends on what, yeah, if you have the planters, you could put pretty little, whatever you
I wasn't sure if that was just.
Well, in the site,
Or determined to get a car on the sidewalk. So that's one of the things that I think that we should continue to discuss, because some of the areas you may not want a planter in front of, some of them you might want the old-fashioned bollard that comes up about this high. A lot of places they're painted yellow, you might see them in front of air conditioning units and things like that, behind the store or whatever, it might be something you don't want to add. But we can make them architecturally the way that we want to make them. I've seen them where they have lights on the top of them sometimes in some places, but I think we should, I don't know if we're locked into the planter, it could be combo. Some places you might want the planter, some places you might not.
in some places it won't even be a bollard, it might be a retaining wall that is, you know, at the correct height to stop a vehicle. So, yeah, it's just, the idea is that we're adding them there and we're gonna stop any vehicles,
Correct.
so.
Mike, I do it, because this is coming to play with all the security gates. Are we looking to have the arm that drops down at the gate, as well as the gate further up? Because who's going to stop at the security gate if you don't have a way to stop it? You understand what I'm saying?
No, but usually you have the arm right past the gate.
Yes,
Just
but,
like-
yeah, but like if you're going into Pine Hills, over there, that's the same. The reason I'm asking, because you have here security gates, but I don't, do we have the stop arm that's going to come down? Is that the idea behind the security gates also?
I think the gate is the arm.
No, because if you look at Tuttle, if you look at Tuttle,
Oh,
it's all the way back, where the booth is. It's further,
I
the booth
guess
is
this is
closer
a
up.
piece of how you want it to be.
Well, I think if you're going to look to use them as a checkpoint, you're gonna have to have the ability to stop them at the gate before they get further along.
So would
At the security booth.
So would you want the booth to be closer to the gates? So
No, you need it.
Yeah, but you could have the red and white arm that drops down,
Yeah.
just to stop traffic at that point, because you wanna have the ability to stop them at booths.
So you're asking for two.
No, I don't think you need to. You leave the security gates open manually locked, and you have the automated gate control pushed out closer to the booth. So when the guard is standing out there, the gate's right there, and it's like, go, boom, next. But, like, those types of details,
I understand exactly what you're saying.
I think
they have it back. I'm just like,
No, I understand it, but if you
That's
don't
what I
have, if you don't have a way to stop somebody at a booth, I mean, who's gonna, I would stop.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, do you want to say?
Unless the guy goes, unless the security goes down like this.
the guard will come out and say, yo, hey.
So I think we should have two though, because you want them to turn around and stop. When they stop and go around.
But you don't want-
So, Rick, can we design those with two, please?
you don't want two automated gates.
you just need the arm. I'm just looking
Yeah,
at
the arm has to go out. That other security gate that they're calling a gate,
It's a
That's
fence.
the arm, yeah.
That's the arm?
the arm has to go
That's the
closer
arm.
to the building, that's it.
Well,
So
you
they
would
need
need
two, you need a metal
two.
gate that's not remote,
Yeah,
and you
because
want a
if you
remote one on
only
the
have
building.
one, then you won't be able to force people to turn around. If you have it only at the, if you only have it at the booth, then if, once it gets lifted, you're not stopping them before turning around if they are rejected. So you would have to add a second one, if that's what you're looking for, at the booth to let them in. I think it's just gonna take adjustment, honestly, for people to get used to stopping at the booth before they can proceed, because unless they get okay, that gate won't lift, unless the security guard just automatically lifts it for them.
Is this the layout that you guys have commonly designed for other places, such as, for
Yeah.
security purposes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see things that,
You could add a second one if you want, if you feel more secure with that.
Do you have a pointer, so?
Oh, we got to go later.
So what I'm looking at is like, if your security gates, the one all the way in the back, would that be better served as being part of the fencing? Have the fence gate go across, and then have the security gate at the main entrance? You know what I'm saying?
They just clarify, those are actually the automated arms.
Yes, I understand.
There is no,
I mean, we press a button, the arm will go up,
right,
all the way back, but it's all the way, it's there as opposed to closer to the booth.
right, I understand.
I mean, you know.
And that was for the turnaround.
No, which, because you want to have the car to do, but if, you run the risk now, if somebody doesn't stop at that booth and goes right for the arm, you've eliminated your turnaround because they're gonna be sitting, so now they're gonna have to lift up the gate so the car can turn around.
Or back up.
Or back up, provided you're not with some sort of traffic behind you. You understand, you know what I'm saying?
Are you saying that if somebody pulled in right there where that car is in front of the gate?
Yes,
No, the other one. So if somebody goes there and ignores the booth and pulls up where the second car is,
yeah.
you're saying,
You could potentially now, because you can't, you're gonna have to lift that gate up to turn the first car around, just argument's sake. You understand what I'm saying?
now, I mean, during drop off and pickup, that gate.
Everything's up,
Yeah, right?
everything's
So this is
up.
during the day?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the traffic, like you have moments of
yeah, so.
expected high traffic during the day?
You know, obviously, we can let Rick speak to the design a little bit too. But I do know a lot of places that I've been to that have the gates some have them exactly like you're saying, Vicky, right at the booth. And then I've seen others that have it further down, have a sign at the booth that says, vehicles must stop here.
Well,
So I don't know if that helps. Like they put it in the
and
road
you would put, well, and then you would put a speed bump there too, because
to kind of slow it
it
down.
slows it down, so that's.
I mean, I think a sign in front saying, please check in at booth.
I
I
mean,
mean, if you put a speed bump. it would
Vicky, if
slow
I'm
it
hearing
down.
you right, this would work, but also you would like one at the booth, so it drops down in front, you press open and both of them open out.
I think James got a point that if you're not gonna allow through traffic, that jam up at the gate, is probably not the, people will probably eventually understand it as they go to college, that's just.
Yeah, well, it'd be, yeah, your school would be the same.
Now, on top of that too, see, Tuttle is nice because everything's in one place. But South Street, we were talking about having, you know, the IDs being able, like, if the teacher's coming in, there's no reason why a teacher has to stop at the gate and say hello. To be able to, the gate goes up and go in. Obviously,
That's the purpose of
Further down,
the second entry, because that would be on a key fob and allow,
to get
yeah,
through.
Are there two separate gates on the
Yeah,
right
that's
side?
on the right side, correct.
So there's two, so a teacher can go through and the other one.
Correct.
so it's like a fast pass, yeah. Yeah, right. Okay.
All right.
Same thing for our buses, right? Our buses would be all.
Yeah, it would be
It'll
open
go
for
open
the
at that
buses, yeah. But we can get a second gate if you feel more comfortable with that.
It's just
I think it's gonna be a,
move
Now,
forward.
well, I'll defer,
You've done this before, and I just asked you because I was the clarifying aspect, I wasn't sure when you said gate, if that was actually a fence or if that's a gate, we're having drop down arms. That's, so I'm, you know, you've done this before, so I'm comfortable with it. And I trust the two facilities guys who have gone through a fine tooth comb, so.
Well, at this point, to be honest with you, Mickey, at this point, nothing's gone really through with a fine tooth comb as far as those specific details, right? Because
That's a
as
little
long
bit
as-
why we're here right now.
yeah, no, but no, not even that. As long as we have a booth, we know we're gonna have to excavate the area, bring electric, bring everything in there, we have money in there for a security gate.
Correct.
Before this even goes up to, we're gonna,
That was great.
Oh, great.
He doesn't hear us.
yeah,
He
okay.
doesn't know he
Yes.
can listen.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay, Rick. So, later on, before we submit the stuff for the state approval, then we're gonna look at really detailed site plans and stuff, and be able to tweak it left, right, and center. So this is purely for budgeting.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else have anything with just the original portion of the front part of this, because we'll go on to the fields and the
Which tunnel?
Yeah, for this, the entrance, way, we'll go on to the next part, which is, tunnel is just, we're just adding, let's see, yes. Everybody's good with playgrounds, accessible, inclusive playgrounds, and every upgrade for the.
So were there any updates to Tuttle since the last facilities meeting? So there are, I guess we could just move past that, no?
Yeah, that's nothing was
No,
updated
continue.
for tonight, for this school.
All right, Tim. South Street.
The parking lot.
So there hasn't been any update on this.
Where would that entranceway be for the staff?
No, I thought we were doing over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have automated gates over there.
Okay.
Okay. So this is really, and then, but there's no bar booth, right? So that's just gonna be,
Yeah, or, because we're gonna probably direct everybody to the main entrance. And I know I've asked this with Caitlin Hazard, the Caitlin Hazard Garden,
in the middle.
how much are we looking to take, I don't wanna say take away, but alter so that it's an outdoor classroom?
Thought was very little.
I thought it was gonna be in that,
I know there's a tree,
southeast corner, right?
yeah, there's a tree that they know is not doing well, they're taking that out and finding a spot.
I think it's gonna be around there.
Okay.
Or the
Towards the
exit.
back, towards the back end, where the building is.
Or is it-
I think it's there, I think it's up there.
Okay.
Last we spoke.
I know you have like that stone mural in the middle, the concrete mural.
Yeah,
You can
they-
actually see it from there. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah.
without having it, I think 90% of it is remaining the same because of how nice it is already.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, part of the things will also be adding in spots where, can you put, I'll call it a picnic table, but can you put an outside learning desk for 5 kids, you know, you can put them around in different spots, those type of things. In addition to a spot against one of the walls where you can pull a glass in and have a backdrop.
Look, this has really nothing, I mean, we're gonna be able to look at this, but I will tell you, when you go and walk this site, right, there is, just like when you walk our athletic field, you see a big gradient, right? There is a lot of leveling, and moving of dirt and ground, and, like, all of this is elevated. Like, if, you know, if from here to the road has to be a 15 to 18 foot, maybe that's a little too much, maybe a 10-foot drop to the road. You know, when we look at it, yeah, it just looks nice and flat, like, you know, we live in the Midwest or something, but this is a lot of work. We're going to be carving all this out here. And then, you know, while we're doing that, we should probably look at these trees here, possibly removing those trees. I mean, they're very big.
They're
and this is-
beautiful,
What?
they're beautiful.
Who said they're beautiful?
They are.
They are beautiful,
One
but
of them is perfect for a tree. Do you think if I drop the light a little bit?
maybe one, but.
If I change the light a little bit?
Yeah, drop the kids, tell me, you do whatever you want.
We do have to be careful, we have to be careful of the pine barrens.
Yeah, I know. But we should do something, because we should get up in those trees again, we're constantly repairing them. One of them, hey Rick, a question for you. When you walk this parking lot, right, why are all the light posts raised 5.5 feet above gradient with all of the, basically the concrete forms are all showing? I don't understand that.
Don't know, to be honest with you, sorry.
Yeah, that's something that, see, the only building in which when you walk outside, you see all of the light posts. And in this tree, like the base of that tree is a good 3.5 to 4 feet higher than the actual sidewalk. It just looks like it's a hazard. Like, listen, I'm not about to go and cut trees down. I understand we have pine barren stuff to deal with, but, when all those light posts were added, all of the concrete forms extend over the ground line at least 3.5 feet tall. It's strange.
Do you have parking perpendicular to that curb currently, or no?
We do, yes.
Yeah, so that's what that's for, and I just know from previous experience that they install the concrete higher so that if a car were to overpark, it's not hitting your light post, it's hitting the concrete. So that would be, and I don't know if it's different at other schools because it doesn't have perpendicular parking at those locations, but that's why it's typically done.
Well, and that's why it's done here, because all those,
And the buses like that.
yeah, all those, yeah, the buses, like, the perpendicular parking. This tree just looks so high above the ground and so small, I see it coming down at some point. That's just me.
And the baseball field is gonna be a true Little League field, or is it gonna be,
Now, this is a little league size.
we're gonna leave the Little League size? And I have one more question for South Street. You have universal pre-K full day there. Do we have a dedicated playground spot for the universal pre-K? Because they're not allowed to intermingle with those or regular kids. So if they're there full day, do we have a playground for them?
No, but it's,
We don't have it now.
we don't have it now.
No, I understand that, but it's something that we will have. I mean, if we have the kids there all day, and
I think
You know,
we're
they-
looking at the facilities, but
That's the first time we've heard about that. I mean, Scope does run that program out of our building.
right, who knows down the road if we're gonna get enough financing to run it ourselves, but that's, who knows what's gonna come from the federal and state government on that, I know there's a push on it. So then that would alleviate that question, but I assume that they go out there when our kids are not out there.
The other thing is maybe the preschool could use that outdoor program space in the middle, because I don't know.
Again, I'll check with Mr. Jackson and, Mrs. Zambelli. My assumption is they probably go out there with the other students.
Okay. Anybody else have a South Street question? Okay.
I guess the idea of the parking lot on the left, is that for visitors on the left side?
Not all the staff will fit at the top right, so it's gonna have to be split amongst both.
Yeah, because I know last time we discussed some of the challenges with that guard group there. And I was wondering, I know that, I understand the purpose of the guard group, right? But in a situation where there's not a lot of space for a guard group, do they have alternatives? And in a sense of like, on the left side, where you have that guard group, do they have a guard group that could potentially be tied into a fence on the side of South Street where it's not checking the cars park, and then the people would come to the guard booth and to get into the building, and if they're not supposed to be there, they're.
So what are you saying, like putting a guard, like putting the fencing across the park?
Across the
side of the sidewalk?
Yeah,
And then having the booth?
Yeah, have like booth like central and like right in front of like where the main office is, and let those cars come in, that way there's no backup, they can park, and then they go over to that guard booth. If they're not supposed to be there, they're turned away.
But I think, James, we went over this, we're a good 10 renditions before this. Using that same basic central, midsection island gives the turnaround capability, and also gives a good place to land the drop downs, right? It gives a home to land the gates.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that. I just go based on the conversation we had last time about some challenges pushing back into South Street, worrying about traffic pushing back.
But even, no matter what, I think, I understand what you're saying, because you're gonna wrap around the corner with people trying to get in here, you're gonna have a couple cars backing up, but no matter what, the gate would still be here, right? So, it's not like we're gonna say, okay, check them in here, because if this starts opening up here, this is where you gotta turn around. But also, I don't think South Street, you have no buses coming through here, all your buses are gonna come in here. Whereas Tuttle, right, let's go back to Tuttle real quick. Tuttle, you have to get your buses through here too, right? So this is gonna be wide open. You're gonna have your slow lane here, closer to the guard booth so they can talk. And then the bus is gonna come here, and this is Tuttle Avenue, right? So, I think you're gonna get less, you will definitely get less traffic because South Street, you know, here's where we're gonna put the guard booth and we're gonna regradient this. You're gonna be bringing your buses into here now, which we've never done.
Which also goes back to the same, I guess, the same comment that Don is the actual, you guys asked, how much traffic is getting in school and that.
Yeah, I mean,
when it's down.
yeah, exactly, some of the thoughts as I was looking at this, you know, like, I was, you know, the bus parking lot, I was wondering during the day, could that be for visitors, you know, and just have staff on the left and staff on the right? But then again, I guess at pickup time, you can have parents there to pick up their kids, so they have to have somewhere to go, I guess that's what that left parking lot's probably used for. I mean, there's challenges either way.
Plus the idea of parking on this side for visitors makes it so that they will have to go through the main entrance.
Do you have at like the administration portion, you have to sign in or give your, do you have that at every school, like a security booth or a check-in at every booth? Yeah.
Would you feel better sitting here?
On a microphone?
No, do I look weird in the corner?
No, what you're saying
Because
is
your voice coming from the corner, and I
it's nice to have a part of a microphone too.
and I don't want you to feel like you're an outcast.
Same thing, Mr.
John, is it
O'Connor.
right there?
Mr. O'Connor, if you want to take a seat so when you talk, you can hear you. It's our meeting.
Come on in.
Come on, Jim. We also have some configuration changes here to get the students in this side of the building.
Now, I'm not familiar with South Street. What's the kind of pickup flow like in South Street?
So, yeah.
That's right there. So where would it be in the new one? Yeah, that's right. You come in there, pick up your kids from that entrance. Is that where the kind of pickup is going to be? Will we do everything? Is that going to be on
No, because that's what the bus ought to be on the
Yeah.
west
It's
side.
gonna all be here.
So it's going to be there. So the parents got to come in and then at some point turn all the way around?
Yeah. And that's what they,
Or pick a spot.
Which that's probably going to be, at that point, I would imagine that gate's probably going to be up.
Yeah.
At that point.
yeah. But you also, like, right now, if you were to, well, back when my kid went to, pre-K here, you would pull in here, and you would turn, and the parents would line up here.
Okay.
And the kids would all come out and just leave.
Okay, gotcha.
And that was with, you know, this being a full parking lot.
Yeah, like, okay, gotcha.
This fence that runs across, that we're talking about for South Street, right? This fence is what basically hardens the security of the front of the building, right? We kind of have like this wooden, like ranch type fence right now. It's made of like 8x8 or 12x12. It really only extends this far. It's enough to stop a car.
Yeah, it's more like a guardrail.
Yeah, it's more of a guardrail. But I do know it is beautiful when you're standing out here and looking straight across into those open fields, right? It's kind of the nice part about it. Whatever fence we put here, I'll tell you, the community definitely would, in my opinion, we wouldn't want to just put like a cyclone, like it would have to be something tasteful that fits in there. Like when we get over to Eastport, right, what we talked about at Eastport, this looks very stately. It looks very nice, and the architecture of these brick columns match the building very well. But South Street itself, like to put something like this in front of South Street would look so out of place, right? Like Eastport and Montauk Highway, the War Memorial and everything, it looks really nice. So let's just make sure in the budget we have in there some sort of fencing system that is going to look aesthetically pleasing and fit in with the architecture in the area.
Yeah, not blocking views, like you're saying. that-
Yeah.
Yeah, country, because you got the farms right across, you're looking at a country-esque type farm.
Yeah, and it-
Farm look fence.
Yeah, we'll look into options for that, absolutely.
And those could be closed on the weekend too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but then I have that question, how would that, with baseball,
Oh, and anyone, yeah. Really.
how would we have it so that those, they would be able to open up those fences completely?
Well, what I would say would happen, if it's after school hours, Joe or Tim, you can jump in any time. This over the weekend, this wouldn't be able to open, right? Because this has to open with, just past those gates to be disabled. But maybe if we had the building use passes and we know that, okay, Fridays or whatever time, because there's 1, 2, 3 fields here that are used, I would say that we would open these big gates here. So you don't want the general public trying to get out this way either.
Well, actually, I'm gonna go through each school, because we have open campuses, so everybody's allowed to use the campuses on the weekends, so we would have to leave them open.
At some point, we'll leave things.
And then have them get closed down like we do
Oh, we
now.
can leave the gate, we can leave have them
Yeah.
position, yeah. Okay.
That's something we can, that's later on.
No, there's plenty of school districts that are going by, some of them are up, some school districts, they shut parts of parking lots down and leave other sections open, that's the combinations. And the way this is, you'll have that ability to make that choice.
It's nice to see the heat work.
It's nice.
Anybody else got any more questions for South Street? Next, we're on East Fork.
Yeah, I mean, James, look at Eastport, right? There's the street and there's, you're getting right in there. So like that fast pass lane,
Oh, no, I agree. I was just thinking, because you guys, I think you were the one that said that it was a very unique situation because of the coming onto South Street, how tight it was. I was just trying to,
No, I agree with you, I think this is the reason we're here today, is to get an idea of what we're really looking at.
Montauk Highway is pretty small, that section. I mean, South Street is probably just as wide as Montauk Highway.
I really wish we could figure out a way to go like.
Yeah. Or a tunnel.
Either one.
Either one would work.
It's busy, it's hard to get the buses in and out of there. It's amazing.
A light that's traffic.
How busy Montauk Highway is.
It's the same thing, even with South Street, it would be nice to do something like that also, to see if there's a way to do that too.
Yeah, well, we can request it as a town.
Yeah, but at least South Street, you have a light, you got a light at that main, the Wayne River Road intersection.
Yes.
But I mean, this, you have no lights.
You have
You
no
could be doing 70 miles an hour, just cruising right along.
It's actually interesting, because they're actually slower, I would say, from my experience, in front of the Sport Elementary, than as far as South Street, where there's light. I'm not saying nobody's speeds on there, but it's just busy and it's slow.
Well, I would say a couple of years ago, when I first got on the board, there was a big push for Patrick and Ken to call and get cops to sit outside in front of South Street, because it was ridiculous, the people flying.
But
I think we cleared it up.
I would tell you this, that's interesting, because when I was there for 4 years, police were there all the time.
At South Street?
Not in South Street.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I meant South Street.
Yeah, so that's why it was one of
Because, you know what happened at South Street was, this area here, when before we had parents drop off square away, we would come here, everyone would just park their cars right on South Street.
Yeah, that's true.
And then kids would be getting in the cars, and then these cars would be pissed off, and they'd be flying around the bend.
Yeah, that's great. That's
So,
very dangerous.
it is dangerous. At least we're getting the kids getting in and out of the cars on our campus,
Right.
not on our streets.
Correct.
You know, it'll be the same thing here.
Well, the parent pickup actually is in the back of the road.
Yeah, but it's all within our building, it's not on a road.
Some will go on the road, but they'll park.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a sidewalk there.
It's a real sidewalk.
And it's not as busy.
Mary and Dina mentioned to me the lights on top of these. She told me that when we originally had the high school, we had some lights and they kept getting vandalized and destroyed. Well, it's, you know, it's just something to think about. Do we want to put the ability to have this?
I've heard they originally had basement building in that kind of street.
Well, that never got done.
They almost had a pool too.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way this looks. Personally.
Except the corner one, I think that's a little high. This is higher than the stop sign.
Yeah, but all this-
A little
The
bit.
idea of it would be good, but I think it's a little high then.
Yeah, all of them would only be about 6 feet.
Yeah.
So I think it's just not to scale
Yeah,
properly.
that's right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have like red, like, for like airport.
Oh, now,
corner location of that corner doesn't block your traffic.
no changes on the interior modifications?
Yes.
Where,
Steve signed for it.
Someone knows we can pull that one back.
I have a question with this, no, but the next one,
Set up to a true corner.
the hallway lockers.
Chop it at the end.
Are we keeping them, are we taking them out? Because if you're keeping them,
Then why not?
why are we not putting them back into Dayton? Because I can tell you, I'll just tell you from personal experience, the confusion that my daughter had going to the high school, not knowing how to play the lock, came into play. Now, you know, you do what you can at home, but if one side's got it, why would the other side have it?
All right. Can we go back to
So
the
this-
other slides, Eastwood Elementary School, and talk about that?
So the scope is to add additional lockers. I did,
Can
Jim,
we hold off on the lockers for a second? Go back to, Tim, can you go back to Eastwood Elementary, that corner?
This corner?
Yeah. One of the things that came up, we should be sure that corner might be tight with that, to see visually, I don't know, we might not want to, in James Ward, we might not want to do a true corner there, we might want to do a chop in there, depends on the traffic, so you can see around. I'm sorry to interrupt the locker conversation.
Oh, no, that's fine. All these things, we have a lot of time to talk about, too.
Yeah,
So,
but you know what happens, 2 years from now, you might forget, oh, I meant to say, I said it.
No, of course.
It's not, so now it's time to get that as many things as you can. I'm sorry, locker talk conversation.
but no, just going back to like this, like finishes, like the type of brick, color of the fence.
Yeah.
We as a district, and especially on the board, that's why I think half of our traffic is sitting out right now, right? We want to make sure we got exactly what we want,
Right.
so.
Yeah, some parts of that are down the road, so you're right, just like Rick said from above, you know, we have it in, we have the monies for it, and we'll get to the, you know, grind down to the details as time goes on.
So I don't even know how the whole, not that I don't know how the whole lockers got added. Like,
So
I'm kind of in Camp Mickey right now, like, we have it over there, why? I don't understand it.
So, what you said, they're gonna add, we're adding lockers?
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's
we
really
would-
good.
Now, they don't need to add lockers.
Right, so the genesis of the discussion was the condition of the lockers, the quantity of the lockers, and that's how we get to that.
I will tell you, I don't think they need lockers, but I don't know, it's a prior principal who was there, who said that.
Right.
Joe, are you talking in Eastwood Elementary, when you say they don't need them, are you saying that they can eliminate them?
No, I'm saying they don't need new ones, because I think this is saying that, I should say that, they don't need additional. They've gotten by without having additional. They are remnants of when that was a high school as well, it was K-12 building, so that's why there's lockers that remain there. At some point in time, there were lockers that we had in the school, I know, and I think when they refurbished it, they took them out, because they said elementary school, we don't need. I think that was a piece of it, I have no idea if it had anything to do with fire code, I wasn't involved in that when that occurred, but they're not there now. At one point, they had them because it went to 7, 8, and 9, I don't think, to
So Mickey, what was your comment? I missed that.
Well, you have them in Eastport, you don't have them in Dayton. And like I said, I use my daughter as an example. She went from Dayton to high school, it's difficult to get used to the locker. And I'm not, but if you're able to learn it while you're in the elementary level, the sixth grade, is when you get them, I'm assuming.
I think, Jim, they leave them open, don't they? Yeah, they're not, yeah, they're just open.
Yeah, they're not really.
They don't lock, they don't.
So they're like the cubbies that they have.
Correct, so, and they don't, and they have small rooms that don't really have the cubbies in the room, so they're not locked. And I do know this, in seventh grade, one of the things that they do when the students come over is they take them, they traditionally used to do it out of science, so like they used to do that. And the science teacher would take them to the locker, and they would work on their locker, and that would be one of the things they would do the first day of school, to get used to the locker.
Well, do you think that maybe we could upgrade all the lockers in the junior senior high school to more of a biometric lock, they just put your thumb on it?
You do
We
it
do a
wrong.
reference scan.
There goes $20 million, right?
So by that, you know, it's like, if you
Welcome
think that
home.
we need additional storage, and then we would look at the hallways and see if that's something you want to add, that's what we look at.
No, but you know what the bottom line is, Mickey? If we remove the lockers in Eastport, it costs us money. If we add the lockers in Dayton, it costs us money.
No,
If we could just leave them alone and let them, just leave it.
I didn't realize that they weren't locked.
Yes.
At Eastport.
And leave them alone.
And I know the room is, you know, and the rooms, maybe aren't big enough to put in cubbies like they have.
Yeah, so Jim, you had the conversation about the lockers over there, so I wasn't involved in that conversation, so I don't know if you want to share anything.
Yeah, so that's the main genesis of it was the condition of the lockers, modernizing them, and we had an opportunity to do so. That's why we're here today with them. But we strive for consistency as well. So if we're going to wrestle with that between two structures and then going forward, that might be something.
Do we know the total value, like, if we just go to this breakdown here, what this actually costs?
There was a quantity given to us, so at the quantity in the,
There we go. This is getting a new, and this is the school, the new boiler.
it's approximately $200,000. There was a quantity of, I don't have that written.
Adios.
I don't have the quantity written, but it was $200,000.
Yeah.
And what, do you remember what that included? That included all new lockers over there? or-
No, that was for an additional quantity. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Now, what about the conversation about what they currently have and like, can they be painted, like anything that wears out? Like,
Rehab.
Like, was that part of this conversation?
No, we did not advocate that. We would advocate for
All right, so, but is that number an additional number or a replacement of every single one for 200,000?
I don't know.
I thought it sounded like it was
No,
additional.
it was replacing the 146 third grade and I'm sorry, I have quantities. Replacing 146 third grade and 162 sixth grade. Those are the quantities we were given.
How many, what was the sixth grade number?
162, and they were replacement, not additional.
Okay, so both are replacements.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both of those sections of the skinny lockers, I guess.
We were talking about going to the
The short, the square ones.
So 200 grand, now, so here's my question, Jim. We have here hallway lockers, okay, and we're talking about shelving and storage in the classroom. Okay, if the hallway lockers are gonna augment shelving and storage for students, right? Then maybe we just take that and slide it in under here. Okay? I'm not looking to take away storage or use in the classroom and make the classroom tighter. But $200,000 for lockers that really are just remnants from years past doesn't seem like it makes much sense. So maybe we could just revisit that portion.
You could say that's a wish list item, and then the only thing I would say consider is, and I would have to be there to look at them with somebody, like, I don't know if they need to be painted. We can paint lockers, right?
It's tough because you got strip of paint, it's steel, it's.
So maybe that's why you want to replace it.
Right, yeah.
If we remove the lockers in those hallways, would it leave like basically an open soffit of
It's a
sorts?
cavity, so you would have to come in with some kind of finish to block it out.
Would it cost 200 grand to size that up?
I couldn't.
No, thanks.
What's that?
If we strip all those lockers out and there's ample storage in the classroom, let's say if it costs $50,000, we saved 150 grand, and then you do a finish on that wall. And then the hallway opens up too, probably by what, 8 inches?
No.
Not even, it's not building back out.
You don't achieve that, no.
No.
Yeah, because the flooring itself comes above. So it's really just a cavity that gets filled in.
Are we replacing the flooring in that section? So at least we could have floor two. If we make a cavity, you dig it out, you pull lockers out, the flooring comes continuously to it. Won't look like a patch job.
No, you would have, the flooring terminates up from the sill itself, and then the cavity lockers is about 4 inches above that flooring into the wall itself, and then it actually comes back out. You cannot widen the hallway via.
You could remove the lockers and create a display case.
Displays.
That's a lot of artwork.
Or you can fill the cavity.
I haven't said much since the meeting started. I think it's a huge mistake getting rid of the lockers at East Point. I think it's a huge mistake not putting the lockers at Davie, because I'll reiterate what I said when I ran 2.5 years ago, that it still doesn't sit right with me that
we put 11-year-old children on a bus with 18-year-old kids. And I've said this from the beginning of time, Dayton Avenue should be 6th, 7th, and 8th. And until I'm on this board, this is something I'm going to push for. So now we're doing an $85 million project, and we're not going to put lockers at Dayton. So that's where I stand on it. I think we should leave the lockers at Eastport and put lockers at Dayton. Because in the future, I see it already, Dayton Avenue should be, and I've said this before I got on the board, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I'm going to be pushing for that as a board member in the next year or two, and we're doing this whole big project, and when I put lockers at Dayton, I think that's a huge mistake.
So the bottom line is, will the lockers be used at Dayton? Are they actually used?
I don't know why they wouldn't be used. I used them when I was at Dayton. I was in 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I used the same locker for 4 years.
So what I understand correctly right now, they're taking and they use cubbies in the classrooms as lockers. And that was part of the refurbishment of some of the buildings, that part of the addition of the section of it as well as the 56th grade as well.
Was that you finished?
It's all lockers.
So this was, I guess, previous, obviously wasn't Mr. Stamel's call to get rid of the lockers at Dayton. You know why your predecessor got rid of the lockers at Dayton, Mr.
Well,
Stamel?
that was part of a project that was done more than, about a decade ago.
It was a stupid move. Now, if he's listening to me now, it was a stupid move.
So along the lines
Who
of,
was it?
Were they in the hallway, Frank?
They were in the hall. I used them as a kid when I was there.
I'm just looking at a floor plan to see if if the hallways are wide enough.
400,
Say that-
400.
Okay. To add them back in, or did they fill in the walls? I don't know.
I'm just thinking future, you know, you're building a house, you're building a business, you're building a project, you're looking for 5, 6, 7 years down the road. My dream, one of my huge aspirations was to do something about this. It's never sat right that we put 11-year-old little kids on the bus with 18-year-old kids. Now, none of us at this table had any decision-making in our process back then when we built this high school. And I'm not bashing the people that did make that decision, but in my eyes, that was a very bad move. Next year, I'm going to be putting my 11-year-old daughter on the bus with an 18-year-old boy. I'm sure a lot of people in this community agree with me, and maybe some board members agree with me on this. Not dream, but one of my main goals, if I run again next year, would be to push to have Dayton Avenue as a 6th, 7th, and 8th building. So, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I might not get any support from my fellow board members on that. I don't know. But if I'm going to push for that, and we're going to try to do that, and so then we're going to revisit it in 3 or 4 years and spend $200,000 on lockers, if that's what you guys want to do.
Right, one thing that we definitely, and I understand what you're
You see what I'm saying? Maybe this wasn't the right time to bring it up, but I really.
No, I mean, listen, this isn't a bad time.
Right now?
It's not a bad time to bring it up. I understand the locker in Eastport might have been the catalyst for it, but we're moving forward with, stuff that you've been involved in trying to make more of a junior high school within
The junior high school.
the junior and senior high school, right? We're reconfiguring the wings, we're giving them their own part of the cafeteria, we're building sports fields that are basically for their teams and giving them a home. Going back and switching over Dayton, to do that after we put this bond together would be a step in a different direction. So we have to make sure as a board that we're, all kind of rowing the boat the same way at this stage of the game. If you think that the possibility of adding lockers at Dayton will give those kids an earlier experience on using that in their everyday life, I can support that and putting it at Dayton. Depending on what the cost would be to do that. But as Mrs. Steinmel is telling us that in Eastport, they're kind of there as like almost a relic of the past. They're not even lost.
They've been here for 50 years.
One of the things that we could do with the 50 is to, I guess we could start with 6th grade teachers, kind of part of the transition like you're talking about, Mr. Burns, is ask the 6th grade teachers if they think that would be something that they would want to add.
Because if we were to do that, we don't have to do the whole entire building. It should be
Sixth
6th
grade.
grade.
I'm so sorry. No, I remember you were saying about transitioning
in school, yeah, they used to be like right outside the classroom, and that way
You
the
get,
kids
you
could
get
learn how
feedback
to.
on that pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it definitely dovetailed to what Mickey was saying with, like, you know, the experience he had with his daughter. I know from my experience, I don't think my son uses his locker, because he had to use it, to be honest with you. I honestly don't think he ever uses it, or even knows where it
A
is.
lot of students choose not to. They
Yeah.
just don't, you know.
So, but maybe if we look back at Eastport, we had numbers of 150, and we had third grade locker in the third grade wing.
It's only about $100,000.
Maybe we put some at Dayton, we upgrade some here, keeping the budgets within the same parameters, and giving the sixth graders that experience, Frank. What do you think of that?
You guys don't have to do it to appease me, and this is just what I'm thinking about.
No,
If you guys don't want to do it, then we don't do it.
I would do it.
It's a conversation that if we're going to start, this should stop.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And that's,
I just wrote it down.
so. And that's something that we're going to have to think about. We're not going to do it obviously tonight, because tonight's just a workshop, and it's not the decision we make tonight. But if it's a conversation that needs to be had, this has got to stop.
But if there's two different conversations. There's the one
Well, it's.
more redistricting, but then the other one that was a catalyst over lockers. Okay?
No, you're 100% correct, and I agree with you completely. But if that's the case, then the work that was put into the high school has got to get redirected, if that's what we're looking at.
Well, this is what Frank Ferraro is looking at. I can speak for you guys. on
No,
what-
I'm just, but you mentioned it, and, you know, you want to go, and it's something that we're gonna, if that's where this board is looking to go, then it's a conversation that needs to be had. And it's-
Yeah, then it needs to
Might
stop.
be 3 more board members, new board members in 6 months. Who knows what's going to happen?
But I think, Frank, there's a lot of work that we did up at the high school, right, for the overall side of the project, that we both did together, which we're in agreement to move forward with, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So
so,
forget about the lockers at Dayton, let's just push forward.
No, that's
No,
not,
no.
that's not what's getting said.
I'm rescinding it, whatever.
you can't say
I can say whatever I want.
I know,
That's
you
not-
can't get an itch and scratch it, and then just say, don't itch me no more. So, if we go back to trying to make equal the Eastport side of the district and the South Manor side of the district, if in the sixth grade classrooms, if this is something that we think that should be done, that kids should be getting used to using a locker, keeping their personal items in there, and those lockers are going to be used, it makes sense to keep them upgraded on one side and add them on the other side.
But
I'm just trying to make as much sense as possible.
I do like the idea of asking the sixth grade teachers if this is something that they would want to, you know, that they think that would be worthwhile doing at the school.
I'm definitely in favor of the sixth grade, the lockers being added, or I agree with you, Mr. Morrow. And I am interested in hearing more of your ideas about the junior high and the, Dayton's, 6, 7, 8 and all that. I'm new to the table here, so I'm not familiar with everything that, has happened with regards to discussions. But I would like to hear that, but if that's better served at another time, then that's,
We can talk about that another time. This is
Sure.
just something that's been ruining my head over the last few years. That's all. Maybe there's a wrong time to bring it up now, but listen, we take the sixth grades and we throw them into this monster. They never used a locker before. They've never been on a bus with 18, 17, 16, 15, 14-year-olds. We're throwing them into this giant thing. God forbid they get an experience at using a locker. Maybe that'll help a little bit. That's very nerve-wracking for a lot of seventh graders to come up with. And again, nobody at this table made that decision right now, so it's not a patient.
Mr. O'Connor, you had mentioned there's one wing that's got the footprint that can fit those?
No, I mentioned a good historical context would be take a look at the corner of Dayton where lockers were,
Okay.
in terms of the width of the hallways for fire egress.
James, there's a section where you can see there's an outline on the floor, and then you get the rust stain out, I guess.
Every single wing that they've had in lockers back in the day when I was there. Every wing.
I think they have it down the main hallway too, right?
They had them down every single hallway in the lockers.
Yeah.
That's just looking there right now. Fifth and grade, I had a lock in fifth grade, sixth grade wing. Seventh and eighth, we had him in that hallway, and then ninth grade, we had him. So I had lockers since I was 5 years old. So when I went to West Hampton, which was a big house, I knew how to use a lock.
Yeah, she was looking at the map, so the 600 wing doesn't pertain because it wasn't constructed at that point. Yes. So that's what.
I would like to take a closer look to see if we have the available room in the hallways to do that. Keeping egress in mind, obviously, the width of the hallways have to maintain certain dimensions, so that's the only reason why I asked. But I have just a small floor plan in front of me, so I can't determine sort of much now.
So if I'm hearing you right, a piece of this is what was required then, what is maybe different now with fire requirements and hallway.
The hallway width, yes.
Okay. Hallway, right.
Can we move on to the next one?
Ready?
Yes.
Where's the slide about the grounds?
Because you don't have the background, you don't have the background, you don't have the fields.
There it is.
Yeah, that's it, okay. Now, we're moving the playground to where the baseball field.
Yeah.
We're moving the baseball field to that back corner. Correct? Is that going to be a 90-foot or is it going to be a 60-foot?
That is the Wiggles size.
Little size. And we're sure you still have enough room to put in a regulation size soccer.
Yes, they'll have enough room, and I think we should draw this in. Dana?
Yeah, I'll add it.
Field. They would on this one.
Can we swing replace that, the playground? set,
Yeah,
So it's
so there's
almost parallel? to the
Yeah, I think they just cut and paste.
Yeah, we just, that was just,
What, was there a thought pattern of putting the baseball field in the closer corner or not?
over here.
Yes, as opposed to far corner.
And we could, but then you've got to be looking at this playground. Because
Okay.
okay.
Okay, all right.
And I think there was maybe a backstop in that corner currently, or?
There is higher fence over there.
Higher fence, is that what it is? Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe at one point in the back there?
Yes.
And Dana, this would need a drawing in of a, otherwise it's gonna have to have benches, the fencing setup.
Yes.
Alright, onward to, where's that we go?
We're going to do, this one's easy.
On next one. Okay, gonna be two ways to skin this one. We're gonna see these two fields, and then on our larger high school schematic, we have the site work laid out, so you see both Dayton and the high school.
Now, I have a question for the field aspect of it. Do we have in-ground sprinklers already?
Yes.
We do.
When we look at the double, it's the best way to do it.
My next question is, have we taken into account the future of how many turf fields we're gonna have? Because eventually you're gonna have to replace them. Because every 10 years, it's usually the lifespan, right?
But it's,
10 to 15 years or something of that nature?
Rick, what's your latest estimate on the lifespan of a turf field?
12 or so, 15 years.
Okay.
the other thing is we overuse, not we overuse, but we had everyone on one turf field.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's gonna be a
So,
bit
yeah,
different.
you're gonna get it with 15 years.
That's a great point. The amount of use of it does bring down the longevity of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools that say the varsity field's the varsity field, the varsity program, for example.
Right.
And our community, we did, we made the decision to open up to everyone that should be available.
I mean, Frank, how many ESMSA games were played on that football field every year?
Just this year, probably, almost 30.
And in practice, I mean, it was relatively easy.
It wasn't up the whole season.
Exactly. Every Sunday we have 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. Jeff, can you go to that double like you said? Can you go down more?
Oh, wait, see the whole high school schematic?
Yeah, keep going, one or two more. No, keep going.
there we go.
We really got a nice work out of that. Let me ask you a question, like, obviously, when I first saw this, I was like, wow, all these truck fields, right? And then we had this presentation, and Tim explained that it's all April, we're gonna get about 70 cents back on the dollar, and how it brings the cost down, which I think is amazing, and I think it's very wise to move forward with this. I mean, at what point, I see we have other fields that are not going to be turf. Do we move forward and go more turf and just do it and do it right and be done? Or is it something, I don't know,
You know what, James, I've been having, Frank and I have been, you know, we had our meeting last week, almost 2 weeks ago, and then I had different people come and reach out to me, coaches and stuff, and this is kind of a new layout also, right? Because we were talking about the head of Dayton.
Big floods,
Right.
floods on the piers.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that would be great, but what you're saying is correct too, because at some point, you're not building a stadium, you're just basically rolling out turf over these, it's basically only 2 areas that we have left.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did when we did this is we made the one at the bottom left corner, that's like a baseball facility. So there's 2 baseball fields on either side. And on the upper right, that's softball, so you would have JV, junior high.
I just feel like based on a conversation, Tim, I think you said that a turf field could be, $2 million, but in something like this, it's like 300 grand.
Yeah, turf field is estimated at 1.2 million, and after our state aid share, it's 336,000.
So to say, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Additional on an $85 million bond. I mean, I'm not trying to.
No, you're 100%
My
right.
point is good, because if we wanted to put fields in later, there may not be a bond that we're attaching it to, where we 7%. So if you're gonna do it, like you said, why not go
You're
ahead and do it?
right, like, we talked about, let's do this plan so we don't have to change it.
James, you're 100% right. The other thing to talk about here is that when you're putting in, this main facility here, and then the basically a softball stadium and a baseball stadium, these other fields are not going to be ready. It's not, you can't just break it out, throw grass down, and say let's play ball, or even use the field. You're talking about where these athletes going to go. If we turn this into a full turf complex straight through here, obviously the stadiums have a lot more involved because there's going to be lighting. I'm not saying we can light all the fields, right? But basically, once the site work and grading is done, and you saw how quick the football field was put out, these can be played on as work is still going on.
Well, Jeff, about 2 weeks ago, my son had a game on Saturday evening, the day it poured so hard all day long, we were like, everything was flooded. And then it stopped raining. We played between the raindrops for 2 hours, and we walked on the field, they played, the field was great, we left, it started pouring again. And like, you can't, from what I'm understanding, you can't do that on a grass field.
No.
I just feel like, for another $1 million, $1.5 million, maybe $2 million. That's just my
No, you have a good point.
This spot and this spot. And then, so then the real question would be, for the board, these 2 spots would be done immediately, because you're servicing 2 teams here, plus a third team. So this could be used in all the outdoor seasons. Same thing here, right? Because when you start counting this up, you have varsity softball, then you have JV softball, then you have junior high softball. Then you have varsity baseball, JV baseball, junior high baseball, and then if needed, if needed at any point, you can go over to Dayton and use this field.
And then the other one.
And then the other one here.
We're talking about eliminating all grass at the high school, all the grass will be gone. Where are you gonna have your bonfire? We're not gonna have it in the turf field.
Parking lot, burn it in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You can put it in the parking lot. You can do it right here. Look, you can leave this whole grass area.
Right.
Well, I guess the bonfire would be pretty high then, because no one uses it.
Yeah, I was wondering if there is, this is not my area of expertise, but I was wondering if there was a benefit to leaving some fields grass as opposed to turfing everything. Not that I don't understand, you make a great point with the value of I'm just wondering from a, standpoint.
From my own personal experience, there's the benefits of playing on turf, and then there are benefits of playing on grass. They both have their benefits. I'm just wondering if that's really what we want to do, is get rid of all the grass at the high school. I mean, I understand you're gonna leave the grass field to be, but now you're talking about moving, if you wanted to go play on grass or practice, you're gonna move all the way over to Dayton. I mean, I would think, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you know better about the football aspects of it. If you know you're going to somebody's field where there's grass, it might not be bad to have a grass field where you practice, so you can understand.
There's only 2 grass stadiums in Suffolk County. Years ago, Riverhead built a beautiful turf field, and football coach, who I highly respect, Coach Shea, does not play his football games on turf stadium that they built. He had them build him a grass sod field, and that's where Coach Shea plays his Long Island championships.
There are benefits to having a grass field.
I'm a grass guy. I've always played on grass. I hate turf, but the turf is a new way. It's less injuries. It's cleaner. Snowstorms, not snowstorm, rainstorms. You can play like James said. It lasts longer. It's less maintenance. You know, cut the grass and then
I'll
line
throw
it.
this out.
It's a lot of work, man.
I'll throw this out though, in the age of COVID, where we're pulling it, God only knows how long this is gonna last, because it's obviously, we can all agree it's gonna be here forever. It's gonna be the new flu. Turf fields are super hot, and if we're looking to pull kids out of school once in a while to let them roam around or let them be outside, we wanna have them.
Turf is 9 degrees hotter.
It's nice to have a grass field, we can sort of go around on the grass field for a little while.
Yeah, unless it's wet and it's mud. If you wake up every morning, there's dew out here, you
I
know?
understand that, but I'm just saying, I mean, there is something nice to have in the grass field available. Because
You make a very interesting point, right? Where I work, we have one turf field, right? And on my lunch every day, I walk 2.5 miles on the track for 35 minutes. Every day, outside on the gym classes, playing football. They walk past the entire grass facility to the football field and play there.
That's a hike.
It's a hike, yeah. That's the only place they take all the classes. And I say to myself every day, why do they only play here and not out on the grass? And I have no idea. Maybe I'll ask that question, but
It's dirty.
you bring up a very interesting point.
Because the kids that grew up when we grew up are different than the kids that are growing up now. Kids that are growing up now.
Like, make you think about Woodstock.
They want to play at turf.
Oh, my
You know, he was
goodness.
there.
I mean, one thing we could look at is maybe keep it, well,
Listen, we still have a ton of grass. Do you not happen to see all this grass that's here?
no, what I'm
You're
saying
gonna
is
mark a lot?
like, we can leave one, but then you be leaving the girls softball field.
Yeah, you have to do both.
You can't do both.
You have to do both.
One and not the other, yeah.
Turf for everything, like James said.
No, it doesn't have to, I'm just, like, that's bang for the buck, you know?
Absolutely, I see both sides. I really do.
I don't think we're gonna get aided on sod.
What's that?
That's what I'm saying. Rick, do you get aided on sod?
Basically, it'll be new fields, so it's either seed or sod, we could do both. You know, we get a price on the sod, and then we can put sod. The sod still has a germination period, so you're not gonna be able to play on it right away, as you wouldn't be able to play with grass.
You know, relining it.
Cutting, lining, the maintenance guys, we're gonna have to hire 2 new maintenance guys just to deal with that. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, but you're leaving the grass field too.
As an ESN, SA guy, I used to help the lacrosse guys out, I would be out here Sunday morning for about 28 hours lining the fields. It wouldn't be like this, but I'm lining the fields.
Can I ask you, like, I don't know, Jim, like, what is your thoughts on, from facilities point of view?
Facilities, I'm not facilities. Sure, I mean,
I'll defer to our expert.
Yeah, no, grass does provide a lot more maintenance requirements. One, we got irrigated, 2, and the high school side is irrigated by a well, I think that's at the last meeting. And we're just at that capacity for annual consumption from a gallon standpoint. But as we transition over to turf areas, that should decrease that water utilization. Therefore, we should look at what we can do with that well and that water in a different fashion. That being said, you're right. At the end of the day, we could decrease our emissions associated with lawnmowers, 2-cycle engines, and so forth. the thing that to be aware of is your community. Is your community a turf community, is it a grass community, is it a mix of both? That's something you gotta watch.
Turf community.
Well, I like what,
I mean, for the sports,
yeah, I like,
if you wanna play in turf.
yes, I don't know, I think it was Frank said at the last meeting, talking about them coming in and having tournaments here, by having all of these fields, having the ability to come in and do fundraisers.
You can blow, you can have full 16-team tournaments.
Yeah, look at it, 1, 2, 3.
ESMSA lacrosse, when I was involved on the ESMSA, we would have, no joke, about 400 to 450 athletes here on Saturday. And every single piece of grass would have a lacrosse field that was small. And
Not worried about rain.
really, we can really kill it here.
But the site,
Fundraisers for the full 16.
the general site work, like Mickey's saying, you know, to be able to have the bonfire and everything else, you know, I doubt with the way this is, look, remember what this is looking like, guys, right? Okay? We're not gonna have a fire here. People, you know, this is gonna change the entire feel of what homecoming looks like. There might be a parade coming down this way instead of coming out of here. Right? I mean, we have all this, we have this area here. Who knows how Sal's gonna wanna run his homecoming?
Can we get like an LED, bonfire?
Well, maybe we can do the bonfire in a different area.
Yeah.
You could do the student program. Well, you might be. We can do it on top, we can do the, because this is all gonna have carport, so we'll do little fires underneath the carport.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, there is still something nice to be able to have a nice grass field. Aesthetically, they're nice to look at. Everything's great when it's turf, I agree with you. But sometimes it's nice to still have the natural feel.
And also, is there one where it's just too much? You know, just tossing it out.
I mean, one option you can think about, if you want to, can you flip back to the other one?
Hey, Chip, Mr. Goldman, I know that you're big into baseball. What do kids prefer, baseball field or?
Just look at every place they go, Diamond Nation, Ripken, everyone wants to go to full turf.
Can you flip back one more?
Yeah.
Yeah, stay there. One option you can consider, I heard you talk about the balance. You can split the difference, and can you, I'm just using this as an example, bottom left, you can make that JV baseball, JV softball, make that turf, leave the other one grass, just a thought.
So this is so then,
Because right now that's set up softball, baseball, everyone thought that would be good for the coaches, they could hear
I'm
each
pretty
other,
sure the
work
coach-
together.
I'm pretty sure the coaches will be pretty much happier having both of their teams here.
You're right, that's, but I'm just saying, it's another option to
Yeah.
consider if you want to split the difference on turf and grass, and leave grass in one area and turf in another.
You go turf, everything that's in black and white would be turf.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, just here and
Mine's
here.
the opposite.
So, who's using the grass field outside of your community sports sections to take?
Nobody right now.
So they would just, that outside, they're not used for any, because I know JV soccer used to play. There are times they've had games on the track, I've seen them play in the center of Dayton Avenue.
JV soccer is,
Not JV, excuse me, junior high, excuse me.
that's full,
Yes.
and they can use it, they can use
You
it.
can use them there, or if you're
Or yes.
this room's the store,
The focus on baseball and softball is because you have to put up the backstop for it, right? So this is a multi-purpose field, right, that's gonna have a backstop, and the way they cut the infields, the back of the infields will not, get into the plane of the multi-purpose field in the middle. Remember you talked about that over at Dayton, Mickey, like, oh, that's,
You know, because you're looking at, you know, you have the one baseball field that you're leaving up, which is perfect because they play, they kick ball games there,
Yeah.
and the tournaments.
and they're resurrecting the one on this side too, they're just putting backstops in.
Do we have any thoughts from our architectural firm? What are you seeing in other school districts? Like, what would they want to do?
That's correct. Correct.
Yeah.
I know, so I asked that we just did, turf fields for like their track and football, but not their baseball, softball yet. That came a couple years ago.
Do we see this as a projection down the line that those schools are changing over? Because again, I understand.
What was the question, I'm
The
sorry?
question I had was, are you seeing, where do you think this is going in the future? You think that most schools are going to full turf facilities, or you still getting a request for grass? Do you have any thoughts on the grass versus the?
I think the plan you have here compared to other school districts on Long Island is you're gonna have 4 turf multi-purpose fields that other schools would die for. I don't, most of the schools we do, if it's a high school, it's usually, your main turf, football stadium, multi-purpose field, and maybe 1 or 2 other ones if it's a big high school. Because I know like Longwood, we just put a new turf field there, so they only have 2 turf fields for that big high school. You're looking at 4 here, so you're gonna have that much more, than than other school districts on the island.
So I guess the answer is we're more robust than what you currently see, but the other schools would want to be like this.
And as far as baseball and softball is concerned, in the town of Brookhaven, all their fields are turf at this point. Kind of in the Pine, Fireman Field, Medford got converted. Obviously our ESM complex that we're very lucky to have. And then Mauritius Athletic Complex is all turf too. So,
Up in the upper left-hand corner, right above the, that's gonna be a conversion, that will be converted into a field.
It's used right now, it's used right now for the girls' soccer, like the little kids
Yes.
play back there.
Yeah.
Soccer.
the beauty about that, if that's just a rehab, we're not gonna rip it up.
No, but like I said, we all know that floods
That
like a
flood is
knee deep
terrible.
lip, it is like really bad. So we get it.
Yeah, we fixed that.
Yeah, refurbished.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty about that is, the problem remains, if we leave this and this grass, when you're doing the construction here, these fields are gonna take time before they can be used. Same thing here.
But would you turn around and do your turfs first and then do your grass second, so you can use the turf until the grass is ready?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to phase the construction. We were talking about that earlier. I think you're gonna do your turf fields first, because you can play on it immediately. And then maybe you do some of your other fields, and then the following summer, you do the rest of the fields, because then you'll have the other fields that grown in to be utilized at that time when you start tackling the remaining fields.
How about we, at this point in time, we ask Rick to give us a money amount if we turf the 2 fields?
What's that?
Yeah, but do you want to do it as an alternate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
Right, but at least have a number on it, so you know.
Is that something you want to ask the coaches to, get a sense of?
Yeah, so we got.
If you want to, well, the coaches who use those, be using those fields, obviously want their kids to play the same season, right? So, we're gonna say go with turf.
I just speak for a handful of coaches without mentioning their names in public, and they all want turf.
Absolutely.
You don't want to talk about this now.
Because that's what they're, that's what, just like you're saying, that's what they all plan on.
School districts in the state would die first for them to have that, for them to have it with.
I just wonder if this, I'm not against it, I'm just wondering if is there a downfall, if we have it, like, does campus get much hotter outside, where you take your gym class stuff and play on that, do stuff?
Let me know, Jim, right now, they play on the turf field right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just like James said, they have right there, because they know it's not wet, it's not a mess. I mean, there are some playing in the grass field right across the parking lot. We charge
Part of me is just thinking like, there's so many pluses.
There are so many pluses, Tom.
I wonder if there are any, what the possible negatives are, that's all. other than like a touch less than.
The bottom line is the school districts that don't have the ability to do that, they make up really good reasons on why they want to play on grass.
Dude, Jeff, I just told you something else. The safety, we have to, there's a big word called safety. We have to think about the safety of the kids, and if we can provide them with turf is a heck of a lot safer than playing in grass. A heck of a lot safer than playing on grass.
Mr. O'Connor said it, just the maintenance along.
The maintenance alone, it looks nice, don't get me wrong, I played on grass, I love grass, I hated playing on turf, but now, 2021, I mean, how many injuries have we had on turf, Mr. Lally? Not many, right?
Related to the turf, I couldn't comment, but
Like football, like lacrosse, we haven't had many injuries.
we have injuries, but, yeah, knock on wood.
Not related to the turf.
They're not related. I'm not a medical expert, and I do beat every single injury that we
For
report.
example,
It's,
Hey,
Good bill.
Brent, could you get us a price on how much it costs for those two fields? And then also, if instead of putting the rubberized pellets in the ground, if we go with, I think this, which raises the temperature, I think some of the schools are putting in like some type of a fiber, I'm not sure what it is, that's made from, I'm gonna make it up. Coconut
We
or
could,
something like
we
that.
could, yeah, coconut, I think, was one.
Could you get us a cost on that too, because that affects temperature?
Yes, we could put them together.
it's so
Drops
Yeah, I'm just, it's,
Yeah, but this other stuff drops it.
when I ran a football camp in the middle of July, it was hot, but that was 95, 90 degrees out, so it would be 67, maybe 8, 9 degrees more.
But also,
On the legs, it's not like,
it's 30 degrees out, or 40 degrees in the early spring.
And you let,
Then you play.
And you spend the teams are spending most of the time now on it.
but if it's hitting 90, 95, section 11 shut down practices anyway because of the heat wave. We got shut down, football camp got shut down 4 years ago, we had to do it inside because of the heat wave.
Rick, do you know much about the coconut versus the rubberized?
No, I don't. I had looked into it a number of years ago, but I don't recall, what the benefits of the two, the differences between the two are. I can resurrect everything.
Okay.
What do we have already in our football field?
Rubberized.
So we want the same fill in all our fields to keep maintenance costs in.
Why not? You need us to look at it, whether you can tell us that.
Why not?
You're right. And it affects temperature. I don't know.
I'm new to this, but do you put bond votes out with option A, option B, that type of thing?
Well, you could do the product as an alternate, you would obviously bond for the more expensive solution, but then when you put the big package together, you could do it as an alternate.
As like a
You could do a
community
deep
design.
dive, yeah.
Do they want to come to grass field?
Yeah, but like right now, we're not, I don't, just so we're all aware, we're not at the point where we're locked into what we're doing yet. Like, we're not locked into what we're doing yet. These are all the things that are out there for us to consider. They're option A to B for the bond. We got you to decide what you want to have.
Well, there's community input next week and for the next two.
Our next two workshops will be community oriented. We get-
They'll come here, exactly.
Yeah, we'll get feedback on them. If they show up, we'll have feedback from them, so we have an idea.
Let's hope they show up.
Because I think the next, we're looking at, prior to our next board meeting, so 5 to 7 before our next board meeting, having the community forum regarding this to get ideas and field questions. And then we have one more, what did I say, December 1st? Right, December 1st was the next one, before it comes to the board for some sort of approval on the 8th. I hope I'm going to
And we have a mail going home to the community, right?
we have a mailing going out to the community, alerting them of the meetings, and that will go out on Friday.
And then the community will have two opportunities to voice their opinions and put in their input.
Yes, plus on top of that, Jeff and Frank came up with a great thing. They have an email address that's going to go out along with that mailer, so that if there's any questions or anything, they can can mail it to that centralized email address, and then we're aware of it, and it can be addressed. Where are we now?
The meetings are also listed on the website currently.
Yes.
So
It is on the website.
it's already on the front page.
Because yeah, okay, good. Jim?
Just currently in the scope for the, back to the field for the high school, the areas that are proposed to get lit. So new lighting, obviously those two. This is a question for each one. What's
Yeah,
that?
and then the multi-purpose fields are
Right.
also lit.
Uh-huh.
Did we need lighting at the JV and junior fields?
No.
So those are the areas being.
And not the high school football stadium.
But
That'd be nice.
I thought you had lights at the
Yeah.
You have
Yeah,
it?
like, it's a football.
Right?
You know, we're not getting lights, it's no purpose fields.
They're not, no, not the high school. The one we just did. We have lights
We
there,
have lights.
We have lights here.
but they're not,
LED.
they're gonna look different, considerably different from the new facility versus your. that
So you want to
facility.
replace your existing lights?
I think it's up for discussion, just.
Okay.
The technology has changed since we put those lights in, but
I mean, I've experienced at the US Open, this is where I've come from a couple careers ago, and if you look at the exterior from the aesthetics, the power and the light quality is a big difference between the last 23 years ago and what we're proposing for the new facility. So, something just to discuss if that should be included in the scope of work.
Now, do we have to take the poles down, Jim, or would it just be replacing the fixtures?
No, we just made a poles probably. Yeah, we would ask that the engineer use the existing
Right.
poles.
Which would be possible.
And then if we upgraded those fixtures, we'd also save energy. So the sodium, the ones we have?
Sorry?
Well, every year we replace bulbs, right? The sodium. they
Yeah,
use
we
more
don't
energy.
replace them that often, to be transparent with you, because the utilization's kind of low.
Thanks, Bob.
But the quality of the light is not up.
It's a different color. We should definitely look, we should definitely see how much that costs
We'll get the light back after that.
and make it all equal.
Yeah, we would look through a right, right?
Yes, here. Yeah, the light is definitely.
Of course, that would be, because refurbished, not. Well, it could be a
Make
side
sure
light.
you get it, yeah, it's
Or
still part of
side-
the site work,
side-
yeah.
We like it.
We should have got that-
On the new flagpoles, right?
You should have did it.
Yeah,
on
sure.
smartphone.
Okay.
No, we have them on order, we're actually finished a couple of them, and we're doing the rest of them. In the meantime, we're taking this light down nice.
Yeah, I noticed that date, the light goes down tonight.
Jim, can we ask the EPC to upgrade those light fixtures for us?
Which
no,
one?
we can't make that, with that, we can't make part of the EPC, because the whole lot.
I know, we tried. Can we move on to the interior of the junior senior high school?
Well, we're done with Dayton, right? Because I know we went right from Dayton Fields to Dayton, to the large, everybody's good with Dayton? Any other questions?
This is great for taking so much room.
That's phenomenal, it is.
So easy.
We're gonna get bigger speed bumps because they were gonna slow you down. And the road between Dayton and the high school is what, 2 lanes? Well, 2 lanes.
Yes, that's all.
Are we gonna make a tunnel and get rid of the road? Because I don't wanna look at any more asphalt, I want grass there.
Did we discuss
You and I,
the,
I got something.
Okay.
did we discuss the interior already of Dayton?
No, we're not.
No.
Outside lockers. Outside the lockers in the school, no, we haven't discussed it.
Okay.
Christine, do you have any questions about any of the other buildings? Like interior wise? Because we can go, it's our meeting, we can go back.
No, I was just thinking about materials. I don't know, specifically for some particular schools and rooms. Is that in this plan, or is that part of just a regular?
Nothing has changed on the interior of the other two buildings since last.
Are you referring to what you and I had a conversation?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I have an update, I think we can update later.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So we want to talk about the,
When you redo the stage, are we gonna finally put the Dayton Avenue name above the stage?
I don't know if that's part of it. quickly now. I know that
Just, I know it's,
Yeah.
it is something that you see in other schools, you know.
Signage like that, maybe?
something like this.
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of it. I didn't hear it.
Just look at South Street, it's there. Same idea.
And we, now I know we use the gym as the auditorium, but had that ever been discussed, maybe putting a small auditorium to take that? Well, we went over the topic.
No.
Signage isn't included, we can include it, like, pretty.
I know maybe some silver, but like, what the stage, just for a gate, it's up off South Street.
It couldn't be that big a line.
Oh,
I was happy to just get upgraded curtains,
oh, yeah, I know, it took.
that the pipes weren't cut around.
Anyone does.
What's this area here, can we get rid of this? And make this like just a big,
Especially that room is the bottom right.
bottom right
It's
here?
not-
Maybe this whole row,
Little storage.
There's room in a little house out by the road.
yeah, we could make a beautiful auditorium right here, look, just make a left.
Alright, so, next, what else is next?
I just have a question about the outdoor clothing area, that we have that in most of the schools. Do we have a particular vendor or particular mindset for this in this life?
Not yet. That's still in the preliminary stages. We kind of just showed potential seating areas, canopy areas that are going to be included, but they haven't been designed specific for school yet.
So more of a seating and canopies, but not like an outdoor classroom? Okay, was that the mindset or?
It's going to be an area for teachers to bring those students, but not necessarily boards and stuff like that. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
I think these were the examples, right?
Yes.
Yes.
By the home boys.
So like if it's something a little bit in the other corner, that would be along the lines of where class people around and teach and instruct.
Well, an outdoor classroom is a whole different
Correct.
idea.
Well, it depends on, right, it depends, you know, is it going to be an outdoor learning area for, you know, is it an environmental?
Is it a sensory bar,
focus?
is it, you know,
Correct.
or is it a
All
place
these
to
things that
learn?
come in. It's more along the lines of the upper right, but not necessarily wrong.
And that, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, this is the zoom in on, this is the library, learning area.
So I just wanted to add one more question. Did we consider the thought of having the sensory outdoor classroom as part of that in some of our elementary classes? Elementary buildings, sorry.
I think we can include some of that information and some of those like stations almost. We just haven't gotten to that design portion of it yet.
I think that the money we'll have in the budget, Christine, to try to answer your question also, it'll be enough money where we could tweak those details, and if you have some vision that you wanna put out there, we can talk to the people at that building and say, hey, look, this is something that we'd
That's
like to do.
Great.
Yeah. Anyone have any other questions about the?
I think this is a great upgrades for the academic namespace in the one. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. Like, we talk a lot about facilities outside, but, you know, this is some really state-of-the-art stuff going on, and it's great for children.
One more thing to talk about. Last year, we attended an outdoor graduation in Dayton, like in this area. Mrs. Simon and I said, well, wouldn't it be great if we had like, this area here set up between these two walls, you can kind of put the people right in here. This whole area, this is a beautiful open grass field at Dayton. I don't know what we could possibly do out here so that this area could be used for like assemblies or outdoor graduations.
Yeah, so you would put a small stage type of thing. You can tell it's on electrical, and what's that, speakers there?
I mean, what do you need much, right?
You don't need a lot.
That space will.
When I say small stage, like the kids would be out there, just the speakers, so.
What's that?
I said that space looks so huge on that.
Perfect. It's pretty big.
It is pretty big. This reminds me of the space in Tuttle. Like if you go behind Tuttle and around, it's very nice over there. Just now I've been to two COVID era graduations at Dayton. One was in the parking lot over here, and the other one just moved in a little closer, so.
Can we do something where we put,
Like a stage, you look
Yeah.
at some type of stage,
Yeah.
electrical, or, okay.
I'm not saying add to the budget here, but maybe we could, shift some dollars around.
Well, if you're gonna do that.
like an 8-foot stage off of that wall with some speakers?
We would have to consider something like that for Eastport too.
Eastport has
They could do the front wall.
beautiful at Eastport.
What I'm saying is if you're gonna put up a stage like, you're gonna want to put one.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the spot except for the front.
Because when I was working East Hampton Middle School, we had a graduation out front, we had your electrical podium
At the front
in the
steps.
front, and then you had chairs lined throughout the yard, going towards the road, and everyone sat there, so.
Right, so once that's fenced in,
Hey, look.
we'll be able to do that up there.
Look what Eastport has.
So-
You can use this is a lot of area.
I'll throw it out at you, you're taking the playground out of its original spot.
That's their outdoor learning space. It's too small, it's too small.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can.
Like the front steps are the perfect matchup for it.
This is very nice.
You'll have the face of the building, and then you can fan the chairs out on both sides of the walkway. So how we had it, where the kids would walk along the front of the building and come down the middle. And then you had sections of seating where parents are looking and watching the kids come down to the stage. I don't know how big the stairs are.
You talking about right there now?
Yeah, like right in that area. So that's
Yeah.
fenced off and protected, and we can use that space for an outdoor graduation. For them if we wanted to do that.
Well, we used about this much room here, right? So if you took that and split it, then it would be ample room here.
Yeah.
Because we were at these graduations,
Yes.
right?
It would make for a nice backdrop with the facade of the building.
Oh, absolutely, look at that. And that's our actual pictures. Right? There's the building.
Yeah. So yeah, as long as there's ample electrical out there, or a speaker and stuff like that. we can do that.
Yeah, actually, Mrs. Steinel, when you mentioned at Dayton, we don't have to put permanent PA system out here.
So, but
I
you
think.
can't have to have speakers. But you don't have to.
No, but I
And
don't
you're
know.
still gonna need a PA system. The only thing they have is.
No.
I do agree with you, because they just had that event at the school, they had the movie nights, right?
Yeah, you can have something.
That, I know.
The theater department would love this.
I tell you what would be nice too is some lighting out there, because when we had, and I don't know what's there now, but when we had the movie night, we had kids actually walking out, going into the field, it was so dark back there. That was my concern, that was the lights, it was dark, obviously, it was a movie night, but just having an option that they had to flip the switch and light it up because there was something going on.
You did like, if you did a stage here and they were able to have an open air outside theater production, that'd be pretty damn cool. That'd be really nice for them. Even they do events. All right, so maybe we should go back to what it really could. When you get that 8 on it, it's just.
And they try to look like wood floor.
Yeah.
Any color you want.
No, apparently not, it's difficult to get on school.
Except for like right.
That is the Dayton.
So. We talked about this, that's fine. This one actually has keys, cards to fit in. We did the fields, we count the fields. These outdoor, where is this? I have a question, yeah, I'm just gonna put it out the outdoor fitness areas, do we really think that that's gonna be used? Like, I see like over here,
Yes, I think you will get them used during gym classes.
Yeah.
If you have them go out there and make purposes to run around the track and work out.
And hitting chip stations, yeah. Okay. It gives another opportunity for physical outside activity. And it's the types of things that we want to try to do more of in addition, you know, that balance of, sports and lifelong activities too. So lifelong activities is an important thing for you to do, get heart rate up, build muscles.
I like the idea. My question would be, being there outside, what's the level of maintenance required and upkeep?
No, they're designed to be outdoors, like if you go to like public parks, they have them, just all steel equipment, right?
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the weight works, you don't put weights on it, the weight is your weight on a lot of it.
And then if we had on the campus, our community members can use that too, in addition to.
Yeah, once the school day ends, that's for sure.
the more of this that can be wrapped into the curriculum is obviously the best way to do it, right?
There's a big running track designed on this, right?
It's 1 mile, yeah.
Is that path going to be lit by chance?
During the day.
Just by the field lights, everything.
What?
Very true.
It's gonna be
So
so
when
where
it's
the
summer,
summer
it'll be up to like 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And it's early morning, depending on the time of year.
All closes at dusk.
Yeah, this is the outdoors.
Now, those pictures of the, it's ways, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's, so we're working on
It's
getting
a
you
little
guys more realistic images. They weren't prepared for tonight, but
Well,
we have a couple more things
is
that
that
we're
Ricky?
working on showing.
That's, yes, that's
The
what
the goal here was to show the facade in the front, that's what we're.
double day seal. It's you.
If you have that, you got the distance between the home plate and the backstop.
Well, you can see how much room we have to work with there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
Your
Compared
catches,
to-
your catches are gonna get, you know, I did the one in,
Avenue.
over furrows, field all in the back up there, and the distance between home plate and the backstop.
That's the old PAL complex,
Yes,
or,
it's just, you can't, God forbid, you pull these guys to catch it. It was just a running game all day long.
all right,
I
so,
have a question about those lights. Can we get something that's more, not hanging off, that's more into the
Recess?
recess?
we definitely have to do recess.
It's a 12-hour day right now. It's fine. Recess.
Which lights?
One's on the piers, walking down the promenade.
Oh, I got you, yes, okay, agreed.
Now I just picture someone come along and whack
Yeah,
it.
Something that, so this, we're gonna actually make a memorial wall.
So what's going on now? Like,
That's for us to decide what we want that area to look like. It might not even look like that, but it's,
Right.
it might be something nice that we do for the community, but people, whatever. We could put a committee together, come up with it. That would, I think would be the nice
you
thing.
know, like early in our tenureship, when we got the boulder, we kicked around ideas about that, and like, who put on, who don't put on, like, getting a memorial boulder. Right, got it? And Tim got the boulder?
It was Tim Bowler, actually.
Yeah, so.
And listen, the way it looks there, looks like it's a list of names. It might not be, we might want to say it has something to do with athletics, or, you know.
Okay.
It might have a shark print on it, or, you know, I think we can chat about that.
Of the Constitution. It'd be a history project.
Got it? Yep. I think we have,
I have a question about the basic floor plan there. So when we say this is an addition, right, and this is a basement, and this is unvacated, at what level is the unvacated space?
No, I think it-
No, it's unexcavated, it says unexcavated.
Oh, it's unexcavated.
Unexcavated, yeah, so
Right.
it means that there's no basement, and so you're on a slab, basically.
Well, what's above this right now? What is this?
Your gym?
that goes underneath the other three
Your
there.
other- Yeah, so that's
The
the.
left slides underneath.
Hold on, help me out here.
So the left green goes underneath the two gym stations.
Correct.
Correct. That's the basement level that goes under your first floor level.
So what I'm looking at here, right,
That's a field.
this is a field.
Ignore the left, ignore the left area, that's a
No, it's
basement.
the building. So they sit on top of each other.
So that unestimated area is
Is
where
that
the
area,
point is.
correct, yes. It's the grade below your program space in that corner.
They just moved that over. If you go back that slide. That goes right under.
That slides under the green.
That green goes under the, yeah.
Green goes under
It's
the
like two
green.
separate floor plans, but for some reason it's.
Basement on the left, first floor on the right.
You sure?
Yeah, we can clear that up.
Yeah, it's the same outline.
Okay, so this, if you draw a line here,
Yes.
you move this over to here.
Yes.
That's gonna be underneath that.
Okay, so we're just excavating here.
Yes.
Right, and basically we have to have some stairwells for egress out of the basement as well as an elevator to get down.
Is that gonna be any ventilation problems or anything like that, like the rest of the room down in the basement?
That's what's on
No, we'll have the proper
It'll
ventilation.
be exhaust, yeah, it'll be exhaust.
So when we call this an addition, right,
Yes?
I thought we were trying to make a space also where we could have some facilities room. Yeah, facilities room where we could store a truck or a vehicle into the.
No, well,
Yeah, we ever talk about this?
Yeah.
we did talk about that briefly, but we thought it'd be too expensive and actually prohibitive to
Okay.
create like a Batman style garage.
No, only because when I looked at this one, I thought this had unvacated, just because it's so damn small. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is where we're using this for storage, because we really didn't make any storage for ourselves.
Yes, we did. There's storage in there, there's some of those things that say storage right up.
Yeah, there'll be
Those
storage.
Right, yeah, storage.
Storage for the athletic department, we don't have storage for the building, or the facilities department here. I meant more like bulk storage, like,
Jeff, wasn't there something about building out more
Yeah.
garage or something?
Yeah.
where are we putting the outdoor garage? Behind us?
I thought it was across from the loading dock.
Okay, so I'm just gonna skip through this real quick.
And facility garage repairs, you have any?
Yeah.
Facility garage.
Yeah, which I thought was gonna be across from the storage, the loading dock,
Where is that?
right?
Right. But you
Not on there.
said, she said prepare, you guys, are you talking about something?
Stay there.
I'm here?
Go to the loading dock, you see those, start where the green is, go to the right, stop, go to the right, keep going right, keep going right, go up there, yeah. So across the street from that.
Okay, I just don't see that as a bullet point on any of the presentations.
It's a, well, we have that we're repairing the existing facility garage, or you have an existing facility garage?
We do, we have a double.
Right, so we have repairing the existing.
I thought we put something, of course, we told you put something across there, it was bad.
Right, it's not here. So what I'm looking at is, I went through this twice, when we did it in public and when we did it in committee. And that's my first question came in, okay, maybe we're not doing the garage because we're taking this out, we're gonna put it underneath, because that was something we didn't talk about possibly doing. And then I went through all the bullets and I couldn't find any information about storage for facilities.
Right, so we have to add that as a bullet point then.
So it's included in the numbers though, right?
Yeah, I have a number, $250,000 for that, but I don't know if that's for repairing your existing, so I have to look at that closer.
There's not.
Does the existing storage that need repairs?
No.
No.
Okay, so it's a new
It's a
storage
new
facility.
other piece that
It goes across the left,
Yeah,
You know,
build into that wall.
yeah, we would push this around.
Yeah.
And then we put the,
So the slide that shows all the site work will be updated to say new facilities garage.
so it will just show it like over here,
On the
right?
other side of the street, yeah.
On the other side of the street. And that's gonna be like a steel building.
Yeah, it's like a
Put there.
buffer, yeah.
A bubble building on a slab where we can store our security truck, where we can actually do some work.
Two
too.
service units, yeah.
Will it be heated?
Yeah, we gotta discuss that.
We need a lift in it, for the service trucks.
Yeah, oil disposal, the whole thing.
What's that?
Diesel tank.
There's a lift.
Yeah.
I say put a lift in it.
Yeah, but then we have to train someone on how to put the car up on the lift. Heavy equipment lifting, but heavy trucks.
We don't have that heavy truck, so we don't really have heavy trucks.
I know things about hydraulics. I don't know, I don't know. That was my question.
Thousands upon thousands of times.
I think we lost half the party.
Any other, oh, yeah.
I only had, that was the one question I had, because I couldn't figure out where we were giving facilities any space. I do know that, at the last meeting we had, the theater teachers who were here had some input on this, and they promised that they were gonna email it over to us, but I don't know, Mrs. Seidel, or
We don't have that, but we do have something from music, they have a couple things, so we can chat about that.
maybe we should wait for them to.
Can you go back to the picture of the gym? Did that picture change?
Yeah, they're updating.
Yeah, we've been slowly progressing with some of the images. So we updated the weight room and also the wrestling room in this presentation. And I think a steam room is included now. Updated a little bit more specifically, but definitely not designed, just again concept.
No, the only reason I asked is because the last picture had tons of equipment, and that was my thought, is the equipment is not included in this bond?
Rick, does the equipment get aided?
I'm sorry?
Does the fitness equipment in the weight room get aided?
If it's new space, yes.
So what that means, I'll give you a quick example. Part of the last project about 10 years ago, we expanded a library, went from 10,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. So you get aided on the furniture you would need for the 10,000 feet. The old 10,000 feet, you don't get aided on that. So if you replace all the furniture for 20,000 feet, the state will cover you on half.
All right, any other questions?
I guess, do we have any plans, this could be just way early for that, as to what type of individual we want to be running that room, if that's going to be open to students? I guess part of my point is we're getting all this equipment and stuff like that. Are we going to have people that can showcase how to properly move with it? Proper technique and all that
That
stuff.
would be one of the ideas to be included in this, but it's not the one.
Yes, yes. I was just wondering for the plan itself.
I just have a question. Is the aid that we're receiving, is it contingent on anything? Is there anything in particular in the wording that we have to do or implement to receive that aid?
It's contingent on, it depends on what you're building. You're, simply put, if we're adding space, we're adding square footage to a building like we are with the one athletic portion, that's not aided. We're confident it won't be aided because with our enrollment dropping, the good question from the state would be, well, why are you adding space if your enrollment's dropping? You don't need to be bigger. But it will aid you on things within the building because you're redesigning classes. They will grant aid on that. That helps.
But the aid, so in layman's terms, if we give you money, you do this, is not happening.
Oh, no. Our aid is not contingent on anything else. The aid is based on the work you're doing on the site in the building, nothing else.
Thank you.
It's not contingent on programs, it's not contingent on taking special interest or anything. Just
No.
Only the programs that we're putting in.
The state looks at it from an architectural point of view. Is it, do you need the space, and is it appropriate for what's happening within your enrollment? If it is, then they'll aid us at the aid rate they've set for us.
Sure, but they're not saying, look, you be the aide, you have to do this, this, and this, and your programs, curriculum, has nothing to do with that.
Now, let me give you an example. Say they said, you need to run, say we didn't have a football program. You're like, you need to run a football program, or we're not giving you aid. No, they don't control it. Not with us.
Thank you.
New renderings, Frank, to the weight room, did you see it?
Any other questions on the high school?
There's a weight room open.
Oh, restaurant room too, look at that. So we're gonna have high ceilings in that basement then, right?
You probably have second story for your
Yes,
structure,
we're showing 10 foot, and then we can have it either a ceiling at 10 foot, or we can have open structure where you see the steel joists.
Leave it open.
Leave it open, right?
Leave it open,
Right.
like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Rest is okay.
Leave it open.
Why would, something, we think about domino baseball. Why don't we just domino whole?
So, yeah, the theater and the stagecraft groups had some questions about this at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
so, wait, Tim, can you read off the short one, please?
And music also, right?
So, we did receive an email today from two staff members, our fine arts co-coordinators, asking about some considerations they were passing on. So one was additional teaching space and rehearsal space for teachers to have lessons while having larger rehearsals also happening at the same time. Additional storage space for large instrument and sheet music inventories. Redesigning the orchestra locker room to have the correct size lockers so instruments fit in the lockers. Also a need for individual doors on the instrument lockers, as well as temperature and humidity control rooms, which we're addressing now with some of the projects we have going.
What, the temperature, the idea with the temperature control of this is, it comes down to your violins, or your wood instruments.
Yeah, that's gonna be addressed.
That is gonna be addressed.
Okay.
Through the whole building.
It's not close to Garland.
No, which I'll be,
So everything that they asked, can we integrate that into the plan?
Well, one of the things we can take a look at is the room to the left of the new theater space.
This? The left?
Yep.
This is the theater, so yeah.
That is the technology room right now, it's right next to us here. And one of the things that we consider, we're building two technology rooms on the other side, do like an orchestra room. The only thing if you do that, then you're limiting any expansion of technology classes to the high school. Because you just lost the space, but it's something to consider.
This space is nice for technology because you can move equipment and material in and out of those exterior doors.
Correct.
Do we have that where we're doing it here?
There's not access there, but there's access to those doors right.
Yes, here?
Yeah.
Oh,
And there's a walkway right there and everything.
and this is the loading dock, is about here?
But, almost, yes.
Yeah.
Across the road, yeah. So that could be something to consider.
We have a dance studio going in? Is dance studio, is that part of curriculum?
It's part of the phys ed curriculum, which is unfortunately overlooked. It could also be used in multiple space where you could do yoga classes, dance, but you know, you should do a mix of things.
my yoga classes, what are they, online?
Yeah.
But we don't have enough gym space for that?
Now, what we often forget here is that it's a junior high and a high school, so that there's more stations you have, that they are constantly battling for spots. I shouldn't say battling, that's not the right word. Trying to figure out where to go with the boys and girls. The other thing that their space can be used for is our theater program. They can also offer some classes to get students interested in dance, maybe something they're looking before. And then they can also make use of the end of the school days, both on, you know, any of the shows, but particularly musicals, kind of things. Not all of them, that's a lot.
for adaptive PE at the high school too. So that could be used for adaptive PE, or part of that. Like, I'm not saying all the adaptive PE.
No,
classes
things
will be
rotate.
there, but it can rotate.
Yeah, it gives another space for that.
What, the rest of the room, this is something I didn't ask, so when we dig out here, what are we doing for emergency exits?
There'll be a
We're gonna have two stairwells out of the wrestling room for emergency egress. There'll
Okay.
be internal stairs that lead from the first floor. We could have one just going directly to the outside. That's subject, we're still working that detail out.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's required. I don't know.
Oh, we did this? Yeah. So
And one of the things we're looking at, like, you can make, listen, you've been by plenty of buildings, probably can have, like, some of them have little narrow staircases that go down into a basement, you can have a little like that, or one of the questions that we talked about too, is we're talking about making a locker room down there, in addition to the storage, you might wanna have a little wider, for this, you have to get the equipment down and out, and the kids in there, too.
or like the grand, like, could it be like more of a grand entrance, like you're walking down?
Yeah, and walking in
Yeah.
as opposed to a solid.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But it depends on how much space there is there too.
Well, how would you
Was
use
there
this?
sidewalks and things back there?
So you would get.
I think like the other things, Mr. Goldhammer, drilling down on this. In the future, on how they want it to look, you know, how we
Yeah.
want it to look.
With regard to the wrestling room, is that, I know when they have wrestling tournaments, you know, I only know based on the school I work at, they take over a whole gym, you have to put the dead. Is the vision that any tournaments would take place right in that wrestling room?
That's not, that's it. But everyone also using ours because we have two gyms. So when that wall's down, you can really lay out a lot of mats.
Gotcha. So the kids would have to bring those mats upstairs?
Traditionally, we kind of leave them down there, but then we would have our own, yeah, right. And a lot of times when you have tournaments, we borrow mats from those schools. And they
It looks like this will be a fully padded room.
Yeah, you can have the walls.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be embedded, yes.
So these, those couple of requests, I guess we'll look at that and see how we can incorporate it in the finance department.
And Tim, just reach out to the planning department, because I know they had some questions.
Did you get some good feedback at the last meeting? Did you get some special interest groups come in?
We did, we had about 10 people there, I have an attendance list. People from in and out of the, I'll tell you, just, ESMSA was 1, 2, we had varsity, coaches, 1, 2. We had the BOE president, we had, another varsity coach, so we had 3 varsity coaches. We had 2 people from theater, a community member, and a person from ESMCA. So there was 11 people who came to the meeting. And also, our representative from Syntax was there, learning about the project, taking notes, because obviously getting them involved with public relations is big, and she was pretty stoked about getting the chance to work on this project.
Yeah, I think there were 2 theater teachers and 2 ESMSCA people.
Oh, yeah, right, because the one was in earlier than that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to say the people's names.
Yeah,
but-
no, they have different,
Okay, now, are we done with the buildings? Anybody have any more questions for the high school? Are we looking, anybody got questions for Tim about, monies or anything of that nature?
No, I'm looking forward for the community input in the next 2 meetings. I hope they can come out. Saying on Wasaka, everybody, I hope you guys can come out. We need your input. I don't want to be one of 6 to make these decisions for 14,000 taxpayers, so I'm begging you guys to come out and give us input.
just to sign up and use it, we have that, district as a Facebook page. Can we put something on the Facebook page to invite people out to these meetings? We can do that.
So, just so you know, we're sending, a postcard about this big, that will go to every single person's house and let them know about both of the meetings. It's going to every resident, not just, parents.
We're almost full school, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
It's right on the front of our,
And on top of that, on our website is this, email address.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that this is on everything.
This, yeah, and it's, it goes directly to one, it makes it so it's easy to control the emails instead of us getting it at the board level, it gets sent to there, so, which we will be alerted to, correct? Is that-
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk to everyone about, and this is something that we can probably do very easily. On our mailer, we could put a QR code on the mailer. And, okay, so it's already done?
It's not,
But no, we have other mailings that'll come out with this.
yeah, we have one thing down the
So-
road.
Jeff, finish your thought, what did you want to?
Yeah.
No, so very,
Sorry, I wasn't meant to cut you
No,
off.
no.
We just had to get it
I
to
wasn't implying that, I just wanted to.
no, but, very easily, just put on there, we could have like a jot form, where instead of someone having to type that in and write an email, it could say first name, last name, are you a member of the community, yes or no, and then they could just type it right in and hit submit. And then obviously give us their email address back so we can get back to them. Just so like, okay, the mail comes, instead of going and opening, just take a picture, boom, it pops up, type in what you want and send it, because we need to garner feedback as much as possible.
Yeah, so we have a few other things that we were talking to Syntax about. There will be in the future, after we have two updated meetings and then the vote, and we'll be able to get all types of things in that as well.
But to go along the lines, I just want to make it clear, I don't know if we'll be answering each individual email, like sending out a reply, as opposed to we'll get the emails. Like I said, we have that public forum coming up before our next meeting,
Yep.
where if we have emails, we can address them there.
So that's next Wednesday at
Next.
5:00?
Yes, 5 to 7 before our regular
Yeah.
scheduled board meeting. And then
To the auditorium.
on the first, we're having another one. So we'll have 2 community forums where we get the information out, we can get some feedback on everything. And then on the 8th is when we should be, if all goes according, we should be adopting at that meeting. That's where we end up, that's the path we end up going.
But,
I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
What date is that, Mr. Burns?
The 8th.
yeah, look, 17th,
Can I will not be at that meeting, I will be out of state. Is there any way I can zoom in on that meeting?
You
Yeah.
can,
You can.
it's not a problem, just you have to, and this is the way it works, if you're going to have to notify Sharon, Mrs. Murray, where you're located, so she can put it down as one of the meeting locations, so that if any community members are where you are, have the ability to be in the same location, and they can be part of that Zoom call. If that makes sense.
you know.
I'll be across the country.
But it's just, you gotta put it out there so that if you have somebody in that state that you're at, can show up and make sure you stand behind you.
Now remember, wherever you're gonna be, Frank, like if you tell someone that you're going to Montana and you're really in Vegas,
I'm gonna be in Nebraska, not to tell the whole world, I'm gonna be in Nebraska.
okay, it's gonna be public.
It's gonna be public once you tell me where you are.
Right, so don't stay in a weird hotel or something.
Whatever hotel you're staying at, you go to the conference room, not in your bedroom. You're not in your, hotel room, I would go down to the conference room.
I'll be in Dublin.
Nikki, can
You
you
can do
clarify,
it Dublin too, which would be cool, right? So,
can you clarify what a referendum date is? Is that,
that's the day we're gonna be voting.
That would be
the
the
date
public
that-
vote?
That would be the public vote,
okay,
yes.
that's all.
If the board approves moving forward with the bond, the referendum date would be the date that they go to the polls to vote for.
I just wanted to vote for it.
So one thing I do want to talk about with getting community input, right? So between, November 17th to November 8th, and where we sit now at November 9th, there's not a super lot of time here. But there's no reason why this should be turned off at any time. Even after the public votes on this, there's no reason not to continue to get
No.
feedback.
Not that they vote, after we vote to approve it.
After we vote to approve it, and let's say they vote and approve it or don't vote, there's no reason to shut off this line of communication, because there's so many details that are left open, and we're gonna have to make a lot of decisions on before we submit our final plans to the architect. So, let's say we have, like we said, we have $200,000 to spend on lockers. Let's say the public says, okay, we're good with that. And then later on, everyone's like, I don't know if we really want lockers, or we want to add lockers at Dayton. And people want to come and tell us about that. That money can be then moved around, because all the public is voting on is our proposed plan and the amount of money we're going to spend to do it. Not that we're going to pull it totally over, but
The resolution is gonna have some verbiage if there are alternates that you wanna address, because, it gets, once the board approves the resolution is gonna have the scope of work. So the scope of work is going to be approved, and there could be some tweaks.
but the details in the scope of work, like,
You also gotta be aware, by the time the work starts, you could have a completely different board here.
Right, so that's why you lock it in, so like you can change the color of
thank you.
the
Sometimes.
lockers, you can
Right.
change. We don't want singles, we want doubles, so you don't want one on top of each other, but you're still getting 150 lockers that were part of the proposal.
Right, but
So you can't like ship them out and put something
So that
else
was-
in unless you set it up that way,
Yeah.
which becomes, I don't know what they would recommend it. I don't think that would be so recommended, because now you're gonna have a puzzle that never ends.
so that was probably a bad example using the lockers,
But
but
the colors and
let's say, for example,
the fine details on
the
something.
fine details, like what the right field fence is gonna be on the softball field, right? That's stuff that we could work with.
What equipment.
Right, the fence along Montauk Highway at Eastport. I mean, it's gonna be 6 feet high, 4 feet high, 5 feet high,
Yeah.
those kind of
What do you
details.
want the light to look like on the top of it?
How big is the duck we're gonna keep in Eastport?
Right.
Same size, a little bit bigger, is it gonna be a duck with a sharp face? Sharp duck, sharp man?
COVID.
So we should leave that
Yeah.
email address.
So are we, we're all good?
Well, good.
All right. I guess that brings this workshop to a close. I thank everybody for showing up tonight. Thank you very much.